I can, all right, I'm waiting for the thing. Looks like the thing has started. Good evening. This is the 6:45, August 7th, public hearing of the Economic Community Development Committee. In attendance, council members, Darlene Young, Barbara Smith, Heather Dunn, and myself, Josh Goldstein. Right now, the only thing on the agenda for the public hearing is two public hearing on the authorization of the city of Norwalk participating as a member municipality in the state of Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, or CMDA. I see there are a couple attendees, so if there are people from the public who wish to speak, now is the time. I see Diane CC has her hand up. Diane, everyone knows the rules, but since there's
Good
only one
evening.
on the agenda, it's pretty simple. Good evening, Diane.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Again, not sure who's in charge of technology, but by the time the Zoom connects to bring the public in, we're catching you folks mid-sentence. So I have no idea what Councilman Goldstein just said, except for municipal agency at the end.
All right, well
I
then let
think
me
you
repeat
probably
because there is, just to
it-
be clear, and I'm sorry about that. On my screen it says recording, so I think I'm good to go. But if not, just to be clear for the record, all I did was take a roll call of who's in attendance and read the item as it is on the agenda. And the actual text is public hearing on the authorization of the city of Norwalk participating as a member municipality in the state of Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, CMDA. That was
Thank
all I
you.
said.
And thank you. And also because of the technology, I guess, folks like me can't actually see all the folks that are on here. So I hate to ask you to do this, but for my benefit, can you tell me which council members are present on the
Sure.
committee?
Sure. Council members, myself, Josh Goldstein, Darlene Young, Barbara Smith, and Heather Dunn.
Okay. And so there are several missing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, okay. Anyway, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to, I'm sorry, I'm going to probably sound like I'm rambling a bit because I have a whole bunch of scratch notes on this topic from when we all met last time in June. I don't think you had a July meeting,
We
and
did not.
okay, and so I really am hopping on because I still have many of the same concerns that I had last month that I didn't really get a chance to articulate, and then maybe some more. But I wanted to hop on and urge you to either vote no on this, which I think is unlikely, but maybe to possibly postpone this and not advance it to next week's council. Those of you who know me for a long time, you know it's kind of a pet peeve of mine that there's a public hearing on a Thursday night. Presumably, you're going to take some action on it and then advance it to Tuesday's council, which doesn't give folks a whole lot of time. But and then it occurred to me that if you wait until the next council meeting, that one I think typically gets canceled. So one of the things that I want to say is that these memorandum of understanding that get done between a municipality and the state get done at the legislative leader level. And so what you're really doing is you're authorizing Mayor Harry Rilling, who for all intent and purposes is a lame duck mayor or about to be, and then either encumbering or emboldening a future mayor who's who we don't know who that's going to be yet. And I regret now that maybe this is something that should have been taken up in charter, that there probably should be some regulations in the charter or some policy that would dictate agreements like this really shouldn't be made 2.5 months ahead of an election. But having said that, I'm eager to see your discussion on this, and because I do think that this is likely to be advanced to the council, the resolution to approve this. I'm particularly eager to see Councilperson Smith and Young, if they're able to articulate the yes or no vote and why they're voting that way. a few of the concerns that I have with this is that this is really heavily still focused on housing. And as you folks know, Norwalk has already done an extraordinary amount of work in the past few years, designating both Sono and East Norwalk as transit-oriented development zones. And we already have enterprise zones, etc. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't think anybody's really considering Rowayton at this point, but maybe you are. Maybe that's the point of this. But given the depth of the type of zoning we already have for East Norwalk and South Norwalk, I don't really see the benefit of tying us in with this proposal with the state, because I also don't really know that we know what the unintended consequences are of having this memorandum of understanding, and just how much power it would give to the mayor. When you look at your whereases and the resolution itself, I think that even though any applications would still have to comply with zoning, I think that it still largely gives the mayor a lot of power, like other memorandums of understanding do with the DOT, for example. And I'm a little bit leery of that. I think, again, it's very heavy on housing. When what we need is affordable housing and jobs. And Mr. Corus himself told all of you folks that this doesn't address affordable housing at all. There's zero requirement in here to have affordable housing addressed. And yet for 2 years, we've had the state legislature and local officials pounding the pavement saying that this state is desperate for affordable housing. And you and I, all you guys, you know that. We're also desperate for jobs. Does absolutely nothing to address those. I think what this is a gift to developers, and another gift to developers. And not only financially, because Mr. Corus told you last month that the developers can actually go directly to the state under this program for gap financing or any other portion of it, because this memorandum of understanding is going to allow them to do that. Not only is it a gift to them potentially financially, it also allows them to bypass some of the processes that are in place to protect us. Mr. Corus and some of our elected officials and staff sometimes see those processes as red tape and bureaucratic barricades, when in fact they're written and they were put into law to actually protect us. Two of which that come to mind that Mr. Corus hasn't addressed is whether or not any of this is going to allow any kind of development to bypass our environmental regulations and reviews, because that's one that we know has been on the table for a while where developers are trying to bypass DEP reviews, and also major traffic generators. That's another thorn in their side. And while Mr. Corus told you that they're going to lift restrictions on some of these bottlenecks, he didn't articulate to you, and there's nowhere in the documents that identify these. And I'm concerned that those two could be two of them amongst others. I didn't hear any deadline from him on, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going over, but because it's only one or two of us, I'll hope you will indulge me since this is a hearing. I didn't hear anything from Mr. Corus, or in the documents I read that there's a deadline to opt in on this. And if there is, I don't really want this held over your head, but I couldn't find anything online or in the minutes on any deadline. And I also couldn't find any way, as with many of these, I'm not sure how we opt out of this thing. And I think that's generally a good question to ask. I also wanted you to take note of all the communities that he did not list who are not interested in participating in this. Many of our neighbors, again, Stamford, Darien, New Canaan, Westport, Wilton, and the other communities that he named may not have the talent that Norwalk already has in terms of evaluating the need for economic development and how to go about that.
I just want to clarify here, and just a couple things, because and I'm not going to. There is no vote tonight on this item. It's listed as public hearing. There's no action item to vote. As I understand it, this will be on for a vote at next month. So the September Economic Community Development Committee and would likely be taken as if it is favorably passed by this committee, goes to the council in September. So there's no voting happening tonight. First,
Thank you so much for clarifying that, because I've had a number of circumstances that are not important, but I had no time to really work on this. And
no,
I
that's
really
okay. And
appreciate you
look,
saying that, because
I
now I
just
feel
want to
like,
make it. I want to make
yeah,
sure that it's clear that, the agenda itself,
yeah.
if there's an action item, there'll be an action item. There is no action item on here.
Yeah, yeah,
To-
yeah.
to-
And actually, I was concerned about that too, because technically you're holding a special meeting right now, just by virtue of the time. And I know you couldn't add an action item to it, but I didn't know if you were going to have it on, suspend the rules and put it on your
no,
regular
that's not
agenda. But
happening.
okay. So thank you for that. And then what I'll do is, because I do have a number of concerns, what I'll do is I will work on this and be a little bit more cohesive and coherent, I hope, and get something over to you in writing. Um, but I hope that I'll be asking some questions that you folks have all been maybe asking yourselves. And again, if this is one of these things where there's no harm in waiting, and we can't really identify any of the benefits of opting in, but we also can't identify the unintended possible negative consequences, then again, I hate to use this term over and over again, but I think we have to hit the pause button on this as well. And thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Josh, for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And the timing is now worked out. So actually, our next phase of the meeting, so the regular meeting, is scheduled to start at 7. So we are going to close this public hearing unless there's anyone else who wants to make a comment. You know what? I do see one other hand up. I'm sorry. I missed that. I see Diane Lauricella has her hand up. Diane, did you want to make comment on this item?
Yes, thank you.
All
I
right.
came in a little bit late, but
Yeah, and I know
I'll be
I
very brief.
yeah, that would be greatly appreciated since we have another meeting here. But go
I
for it.
understand. Okay, Chairman Goldstein and other members of the council and Mr. Habansky and other staff. For the record, my name is Diane Lauricella, 21 Little Fox Lane. I wanted to lift up the issue of I am one that really tries to seek regional approaches or collaborative approaches to solving our municipal and town challenges. So when I did hear about Mr. David Corus forming this, of course, under the auspices, I guess, of the governor's office or in tandem, I thought this had, and I still do think this has great potential. I have been familiar with David Corus and many of his different jobs over the years, and I have a lot of respect for him. I do feel the following, though. I do think Ms. Cece brings up many good points, especially the potential for bypassing of certain regulations possibility. Now, I'm going to do some of my own homework in the next month, especially environmental rules or regulations that may harm our municipalities, our air quality, water quality, land use. But I'm going to check that out because my main point of speaking is I want to make sure that if Norwalk should eventually vote to become a member of the CMDA, that there is transparency in all the actions taken on behalf of Norwalk, and that the public will be asked for their opinion and the council when it comes time to help with certain policy-making decisions. The reason I'm saying this is that currently, in a different mode than what we were promised, the current redevelopment agency of the city of Norwalk, this is my opinion, I've been around a long time. While there are some terrific projects they've worked on, there is not a lot of transparency, to tell you the truth. On occasion, there are some public hearings. They bring in a consultant and they have the dutiful 1 or 2 public hearings or meetings, but a lot of the work done is done in darkness. It's done without transparency. Some of the members
1
particularly
minute, Diane.
So I just feel that transparency has to be part of what you understand the relationship is, and that's transparency to you as council members and also the public. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, so now we are actually closing the public hearing on that tonight, and then we are going to reopen and start the regular meeting of the August 7th Economic and Community Development. With us tonight, council members Darlene Young, Barbara Smith, Heather Dunn, and myself, Josh Goldstein. I know we got a few people unable to attend tonight. But we do have a quorum. So acceptance of the minutes for June 5th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Smith, any corrections, deletions, issues with the minutes? Councilmember
Mr.
Smith.
Chair, you able to, Mr. Chairman, are you able to hear me now?
Yes. All right.
Yeah, it's just,
All right.
Jay has been dealing with
after
the
5
wonders
years-
of technology.
You'd think after 5 years of practicing this, we'd have it down, but I'm sorry. I'm here now.
Okay. All right. Well, Jay is here. And Barbara, was there an issue with the minutes?
it's just my name is spelled incorrectly on page 4. It seems to be correct in most of the minutes, but I just noticed that on
Okay.
page 4 it's spelled with an I instead of a Y.
All right, so please make sure to change Ms. Smith's name. If it shows up, I see it only as 1 on here. So yes, on page 4. Any other issues, corrections, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as amended? 1, 2, 3. In favor, opposed, abstentions? Darlene, were you voting in favor or are you abstaining? I think, did you mean to say abstention? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Abstain, I'm sorry.
Abstain. Okay, so 3 in favor and Darlene abstains. Okay, public participation for the Economic Community Development meeting, the regular meeting. Anyone who wishes to speak, raise your hand. I see we've got 2 attendees. We'll go in the opposite order of last time. Diane Lauricelli, you're up first. And remember, 3 minutes related to the agenda, and I will maintain the timer. So
Certainly.
Diane Lauricelli, you're on.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Diane Lauricella again, 21 Little Fox Lane. Tonight you have several very important topics on the items on the agenda. I'd like to speak to a few of them. The first, I'm going to go in reverse as well. Item D under planning and zoning, ICOM citywide flood resilience plan. I think I'd love to see the staff take a look. We have done some of this work already. So assigning almost $200,000 to yet another flood plan seems like there may not be as much of a need, and it's not necessary to spend that much money because we've done parts of plans with the help of other agencies over the last 5 years or so. So I just asked this council to take a look and see, do we really need a brand new $200,000 plan, or can you add and subtract of things that have already been done, and then whatever's left, ACOM will help with? I want to make sure green infrastructure is lifted up front and center so that we don't just pipe and engineer everything underground. Going backwards, C, under TMP. TMP does a lot of great work. They're working hard. For Fuss and O'Neill's Wall Street, adding another, over $250,000 on the Wall Street plan. I guess I would love hearing why this additional money is needed. And then on item C3, it's $38,000. So I don't know if that's contingency or not, but I think plenty of money's been placed on the Wall Street plan. So that is a bit much. I'm saving the best for last, or my most concerning is B1, and that is the parking authority. I would like to see this council show some fiscal austerity. $640,000 on the Yankee Doodle garage is ridiculous because we have thrown a lot of money at making it look fun with the lights changing. I think you should put this on hold until you see what the traffic patterns are once Burnell Boulevard is made 2 ways. And I applaud the council or the mayor's office for agreeing to make Burnell Boulevard 2 ways. But to spend almost $750,000 yet again on another Yankee Doodle Bridge boondoggle. I really think you should put this on hold and make sure you see what the traffic patterns are and then plan after that. I think I was shocked when I saw this number, and it's our money. It's our money. So
30
please show
seconds.
fiscal austerity, because it'll make a difference in November. Fiscal austerity. You don't need this yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Next, Diane Cece.
Here we go. Can you?
All right. Yep, go. Your 3 minutes are on.
Diane, you're muted.
Oops, there we go. Sorry. Okay, now am I on?
Yes.
Okay, Diane CC, Olmsted Place. The first item I wanted to speak to is item C under transportation, mobility, and parking. Similar to a question of what Ms. Laura Teller just asked, but a different item. Under item 1, the $63,000 agreement with AKRF for Route 1 cross street, Wilton and East Avenue. This seems like deja vu to me as well. I'm not sure how many years going back, and I didn't have time to do any research on it, but this seems like it's round either 2 or 3 in terms of fundings for studies for improvements here at that intersection. So I don't know if there's somebody here who can speak to that tonight, or if any of you folks have been around long enough to recall what it is I'm talking about, and maybe table this and take a look at, why are we spending money if we've already had studies done on this in the past. And then the other item I wanted to mention is under E, under economic and community development, item number 2, an agreement with a company called AGW Sono Partners for temporary occupation of 99 Washington Street, utilizing vacant office space. I wonder if someone can speak to that. I couldn't find in the backup what that item is referencing. When I tried to search it, I couldn't find it. If it's in there, you can direct me to it. But I'd like to know who these folks are. I believe they're from, when I went on the Secretary of State site, I believe that they are from out of state. And I would just like to know more about who they are and why they're being allowed to occupy vacant office space, and why they would have anything to do with the city versus the 99 Washington Street. And actually, what is that building as well? So I'm going to hang in, and hopefully somebody is here to speak to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. There is actually a letter in the backup on the agenda for this item.
Okay, I'll hop
Jay
right
Hibansky-
back in and go look.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's there. Jay Hibansky will speak to this, and he will provide clarity and explain that we're actually leasing space from them for $0.
Got it. Thank you.
So, okay. Are there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Diane still has her hand up, but Diane spoke. So I am going to close public participation and move on to new business. And before we get to the items of which we need to vote, I wanted to bring on, and I'm really glad he is here, Matt Pence from the Norwalk Transit District, to talk about the brand new bus lines that are going into effect this Monday. So Matt, I wanted to give Matt an opportunity to present to us and to give the public some additional notice about the change that's going to happen to our bus routes starting this Monday. And if you haven't seen the ads, because I've seen them all over town, and I know there's an effort here to do some public communication, and this is part of it. So Matt, thank you so much for coming here and speaking to us, and the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Happy to be here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure how much detail you guys want me to go into. I could probably talk about this for hours, but let me...
I would go with brief overview.
Brief overview. All right, we'll keep it short and sweet and to the point. So basically, about 2 years ago in 2023, we did a comprehensive operational analysis. We hired a firm called Nelson Nygaard that does these kind of studies all over the country. And we really wanted to look at our transportation, our bus network, our system, and see how it's functioning currently versus how it could better serve the city. Through a lot of work and effort and outreach and stakeholder advisory committee meetings and public outreach, we pretty much broke everything down and were able to rebuild it. The brief highlight is that we're able to come up with a much more simplified system. So we currently have 14 local routes, and these, just so you know, the changes just impact Norwalk. There's no change to the coastal link that goes up to Milford. There's no change to the 341 that goes to Stamford. These are just the local Norwalk routes. So we had 14 local routes. We're able to do just about the same, cover the same footprint with 7 routes. In those 7 routes, we're going to have much fewer routes, obviously, and more hours, which is a good thing. So we'll have 10,000 more service hours on the road. There's going to be 3 primary routes, routes 1, 2, and 3. Those are going to run 7 days a week and really be the bloodline, the lifeline of the city for the transportation network. Then there's going to be routes 4, which operates Monday through Friday and Saturday. That will go down. It'll go up as far as Westport Ave and the Norwalk High, and it'll go down to the beach. One limitation is we will not have bus service on Sunday to the beach just yet, but the recommendation that Nygaard gave us is that they give us more or less a cost neutral plan and then a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. So over time, the plan is to add service as funding becomes available. The main highlight is we move from what we call a pulse system. Right now, we have a pulse system that operates on Burnell Boulevard, and we're changing that to a modified hub and spoke system with more or less 3 micro hubs, which will still be at Burnell, South Norwalk train station and East Norwalk train station. So there's better connectivity to the trains here. We believe this will be a good thing. It's been designed to get anywhere within the network with just 1 transfer. Trying to think of some of the other highlights for you guys. Just a lot easier to understand. Josh, I can appreciate your comment. We've worked as hard as we could to try and get the maps out there. It's really not complicated. It actually took me a while to learn our existing system. We have a very kind of clunky system where we have wheels service during the day, shuttles at night, wheels on Saturday, shuttles on Sunday. This is going to be much simpler to understand. So we're doing our best to promote it. We're excited. We have press thing on Monday. And there's plenty of information. If you go to norwalktransit.com and you go to new network, you'll see all that, all the information there about all the routes and the maps. We did 2 maps, a regular system map and then a spider map. So tried to go sort of above and beyond in creating the materials. But yeah, I mean, Monday, I will admit, will be a bit confusing. We were out there today talking to passengers to see who knows what. Some people are very much ready for it. Some people are still a little bit surprised. So hard to prepare for this type of thing. But Sunday, we're going to do a soft launch where we'll have our regular shuttles operating some limited service just because we have to have them out there. But we'll start testing, and, we'll start implementing routes 1, 2, and 3 on Sunday. So we'll have a regular Sunday service sort of, there, and then come Monday is really going to be where the public is going to have to realize that their regular bus is not there, and sort of learn what they can to adapt to get to the new feature. The only other piece is there are some less dense areas that have been cut. We do work with limited resources, so if there's not density or high ridership, it's not productive to keep her out there. We're very fortunate, maybe a little biased here, but I believe we have a very robust public transit network, and the delegation and the mayor, they've all supported our micro transit efforts. And I think Norwalk is very fortunate to have micro transit available throughout the entire city. So we tell people, if you're losing your fixed route service, Wheels to You is available. And that's my short and sweet for you.
Well, that was short and sweet. Anyone have any questions for Matt, Councilmember Smith?
No questions, but Matt, I really want to commend you for following this through from the very beginning and the study to do it appropriately and really make these changes that the public has really needed. As I talk to more and more young people, I hear so much that they would really like to be able to use more public transportation to get around the city, and you've just done a really, really incredible job, and we're lucky to have you.
Okay, I really appreciate that. Yeah, and we're going to see this through. I mean, it's more than just routes. We're going to just stay on top of enhancing a lot of things. The boardings, we're still taking tokens and tickets and stuff. We do take token transit, but we're going to talk more about how we can make boarding more seamless, and hopefully tap and go is in the near future, just to make the whole experience easier for the rider. But appreciate those comments, Councilwoman.
Does anyone else have any questions, comments?
I think I'm just gonna look forward to Monday and seeing this rollout. So I think it's gonna be exciting. We've had some ups and downs, we know, with our system, but this is headed in the right direction for sure. So appreciate all the hard work.
Thank
Jim
you.
Travers.
Governor Chair, I just felt the need to comment as well. You know, we worked with Matt extensively on this. I think we are very lucky to have him leading the helm. He's bringing innovation and technology, and more importantly, an incredible partnership with the city to make this happen. We're excited too that Monday will also launch the two-way Burnell to support the new transit system. And I think that's going to clarify a little bit for riders, pointing you in the right direction for the bus that you want. I think we'll talk then. We'll talk more, but the road isn't fully done. We're opening up early to accommodate the transit district, but also to learn, right? To see what modifications may need to be included in the Greater Wall Street District improvements that we have planned. But I really appreciate Matt. I love talking to him all the time, and it's just an incredible partner for the city.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, and that goes both ways. Jim's very receptive to the things we need to do, and there's good collaboration. And yeah, I mean, he's allowed us the flexibility, and he's listened to our input. So I think it's important for all these modes to function together. So appreciate that, Jim.
Great, and I agree. Matt, where can people go to find out the bus routes? Where is a good place?
The best thing to do is just go to norwalktransit.com. We put it in red, the new network. We'll change that over on Monday. Everything will be fresh, but all of the information's there. But there's one dedicated page that has information on all the routes and the multiple maps that have been created and the timetables, where everybody can find all the information they need. And to the extent I do expect some confusion, right? These things, there's always, a little bit of chaos anytime there's these conversions. You guys know where to find me, mpence@norwalktransit.com. You could find my phone number, but we'll work through these things. So I found that as people are confused, as we talk to them, they kind of see the light and they're like, okay, I get it, right? And so, sometimes people will need to transfer more. But the other big thing that I don't think I highlighted is on the main corridors, there'll be 15-minute frequency. So if you miss your bus, there'll be another one, which is great. When we first started, I'll be honest, I thought a 15-minute frequency was too much for a city like Norwalk, but we ended up gravitating in that way. So, maybe we can end up having a robust network, and yeah.
Okay. Well, Matt, thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. I know this is a busy time for you. It's a big transition. Oh, Heather, I'm sorry. I saw your hand up.
I have a couple questions. Can you give us an update, about the 21st century kind of stuff like tap and go or real time? I know, like, I use the buses in New York City all the time where you can put in a code and it'll tell you exactly where the bus is.
Yep.
You can actually see the bus ... where it actually is. Can we look forward to that, some of the stuff, and where are we in the process for any technological things?
Sure. Yeah. Some of it we have. There's an app called MyStop, which all of our networks in there. You just put in Norwalk Transit, and we're going to flip it over from our existing network to our new network on Monday. But we have that where riders can track where the bus is. It's called the MyStop app. The signage is very important. We're demoing these, they're called digital e-ink readers. You'll see one, we just installed one in East Norwalk on Rogers Square. We put one on, I think it's South Main, and the signage is a tough thing. We do want to get as much real-time signage out there, but this is the first time we really got some of that out there. We have 6 units. We're going to put one at the South Norwalk train station and I think 2 on Connecticut Ave. We're just demoing that stuff, but in terms of, they call it the real-time GTFS feed to know where our buses are. You can get them on the app, the MyStop app, and then it's an uphill battle to get the signage out there. I'd love to have state-of-the-art signage. I think there's a big need for digital signage at the train station, and these are things that Jim and I have talked about and we'll work towards. But you talk about technology. The state is actually doing a demo for Tap and Go in Middletown, and they're going to put out an RFP and award a vendor that other agencies can purchase off of. So as soon as that's out there, we're watching it closely. We want to get that. I mean, we've all been to New York where you just take your credit card, tap, turnstile. You get on a bus, tap, you're on. I'd like to believe as soon as we can figure out who the state's going to identify as the provider, we're going to jump right on that. Wishful thinking, but a year. If it's more than 18 months, I'll be disappointed. But hopefully we'll have that technology on our bus so that boarding is a lot easier. The other piece, this is really really, Jim Travers's world. They've spearheaded an initiative called TSP, Traffic Signal Prioritization. So they brought us in as a partner. They've taken the lead on this, but this is going to give the buses, I think, and other first responders the ability to have traffic signal priority. So that's some of the technology, in response to your question that I want to bring to your attention. But yeah, definitely the MyStop app, you'll be able to see where our buses are. We started last February with token transit, which is basically you can just activate your ticket, show the driver your phone, and then you can board without needing a token. So there's a couple of different things out there. I think the ultimate answer is to get this tap and go technology for the riders. So all over the place with that answer, but there's a number of things in the works.
All right, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just wanted to thank Matt again for his efforts in getting the word out. He's so willing to come here and kind of use this platform as another outlet to let folks know of all the hard work that's been done, but the improvements to the transportation network, public transportation network. It's really just another tool in the toolbox of all the different departments that overlap with transportation. So I commend him for that. And, I'll just reiterate that while all the other bells and whistles, they're really exciting to hear about, increased frequency is just, it's the core, or dependable frequency is really the core of a well-functioning public transportation network. And I'm really excited to hear about that. And, like Matt said, I think everyone has at one time or another experience running for the bus and missing it and not sure when the next one's coming, and that, 15 minutes down the road, your next bus is coming. I think that's really a great amenity for the network. So Matt, thanks again. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Matt. Have a good night.
This is Darlene. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I just had one more question as Heather was
Oh.
talking. I know a lot of the high schoolers depend on public transportation too. And so I'm sure there will be opportunity and schedules that meet their needs as well, right? Has that been something different or?
Yeah, actually, so down at Brian McMahon, we have a route that goes down there. It's going to be Route 5, and it'll go, right now we have these high school trippers that go, just different parts of the day. That Route 5 will run throughout the day. I think it's hourly, but it'll be able to run all the way down Highland, through, where Brian McMahon is. It'll go up through South Norwalk and over to East Norwalk and then up to Burnell so they can transfer. So that service is still there. In fact, it should be better and more consistent. The Norwalk High area also is going to have a benefit here. There's routes 5 and 6, so they'll have the option to go west on Route 6 right to Burnell Boulevard, and that kind of travels through up to parts where Ponus is. But alternatively, and they didn't have that option before, the number 7 just dropped down. They'll also be able to take the 4 south down Strawberry Hill and then either to the South Norwalk train station or to Calf Pasture. So there'll be 2 different options from that for them throughout the day.
So one of the things you might want to think about is that a lot of the kids ask from Norwalk High School to get to the mall. A lot of them have after school jobs or want to go there, and they're having a hard time because they have to go all the way to the hub and then I think from there. And so kids that are working after school are not getting to their jobs as quickly as they'd like. So something to think about in the future.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And they will be able to get to the hub and then just transfer on the number 3, which is going to run every 15 minutes. But yes, I'll keep that in mind and make sure that there's connectivity there. Again, a lot of it may just, I think people need to learn the system and understand where the transfer points are, but they will be able to get there with just one transfer. But I will keep that in mind for sure. And we'll watch that to make sure it's as useful as it can be for them.
Does anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay, Matt, thank you so much for coming out, and we will help, stay tuned and make sure that people know about these changes and use our networks to promote that it's here, that it's new, and that it's more frequent and faster.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me again. Thanks for your enthusiasm. And, our goal is to grow ridership, right? And the more people we get on the bus, fewer cars out there, and better quality of life for all of us. So hopefully we'll get productive routes. We're carrying about 4,300 people on average during a weekday, and we want to get that to at least 5,000. So that's my goal, and keep you posted on it.
Good. All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Thanks again.
All right. Now we move on to B, Norwalk Parking Authority. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract agreement with Giliberto and Sons LLC in the amount of $638,518 for project NPA 24-02, aesthetic enhancements, painting, and select demo at Yankee Doodle Garage. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Smith. Jim.
Hi. Thank you again. Brian Lutz, who is our assistant director, has really taken the lead in this. He wanted to be here tonight, has some childcare issues. So I am pitching for him. I think there's a couple of things. I think first and foremost, I try to take every opportunity to remind folks of this. While we often talk about the investments into parking and challenges there. I think it really is worth noting again that there is no city tax dollars that come to operate the parking authority. It is all self-sustaining, all from the parking fund, which is the revenue that is generated in the parking authority. In this case, to do the enhancements, we did need to bond. The city does bond on behalf of the parking authority, but the parking authority is directly responsible for repayment of that bond. But because it initiated with the city bond is why that item is in front of you today, right? But this is really part of what came out of the Greater Wall Street District community meetings that we had very early on. We heard from the community the concerns about the aesthetics, the feeling of the safety within the Yankee Doodle Garage, the opportunity they had to make investments. You may recall we did a massive citywide effort to gain community support of what the new design would look like. So the people voted on the design, and this is really just part of the first level of, well, actually it's the second level of the execution. The first level, we did some concrete repair work necessary to do this, and then we did some cutting of the ribs to improve the appearance of like everything we do is like we often hear first impression, last impression, right? So we really wanted to make sure that the first level of the garage was airy, open, bright, and so we removed some of the old concrete ribs that were hanging below. To open it up, I think we had a lot of positive feedback that came from there. This is the next round, which looks to paint the facility. It's been a while. For some that are there, it's a little bit in need of more of better improvements. We'll put some lighting. We're going to be installing or painting the stairwells. Each floor will have a color that is typical modern parking. So you might forget that you parked on level 4, but you're more apt to remember that you're on the red floor or the yellow floor, right? So it just helps in guiding that and feeling better. But we did a competitive bid. What's in front of you is a low bid. We're looking forward to getting this done. This is passed through the parking authority board, and it's just its final leg in front of you tonight. Since we did bond this portion, again, the bond is not paid for by any tax dollars, paid for solely by the parking fund. It should also be noted that the parking fund contributes to the general fund each year in terms of payment of reimbursement of salaries and expenses that occur with city staff that work to support the parking authority, right? But I think when we talk to the folks at Wall Street, they're very excited to have this starting. I think there is a a level of excitement that's occurring in Wall Street right now that hadn't occurred in a while. I think what Garrett is up next with with another item that we'll talk about, but we're also wanted to share with you, like, when we put it up on a map and show you where the different parts of work that is going. I think, you know, it took us a long time to get here. We heard from the community. This was decades of inactivity that that they were getting frustrated on. I don't think frustration is the feeling that you get in Wall Street anymore. I think there's a level of excitement for the stuff going on. I think sometimes it's difficult. It's in construction, right? So we can't make things better in construction than what they're going to get at the end. But when we start to release some of these new sidewalks that are occurring, there is a level of excitement that comes here. But I think we're excited to move forward with the parking authority and for improvements to the Yankee Doodle garage. And I do also think it's important to note the parking authority invest millions of dollars every year or reinvest millions of dollars every year in keeping the infrastructure in top-notch order, right? This is, while they're concrete facilities, they're outside in the elements and they are subject to a lot of wear and tear. We are currently in construction, but about $1.5 million improvements to the Haviland parking deck, and we're doing a lot of concrete repair. And those are necessary things in order to keep it in a state of good repair. And I think at the end we're going to do aesthetic enhancements to that as well, to make it more welcoming and make people feel more comfortable about using the parking facilities that we have to offer. But I'm happy to answer any questions on this item.
Any questions? Barbara, you're on mute. Oh, I'm sorry. Heather.
Can you give us an update on, I know that there were plans that were put off a little bit to get all the ADA compliance stuff done. Where are we with that? Is that part of this project or no?
So no, we still continue to work. So we're working with our ADA coordinator. And we're currently working with Desmond, who is our consultant, on conditions assessment and prioritization of those tasks. But it is still very much items that we are looking to move forward with. We are we will, in this plan, we will be looking at at the spaces and allocating the necessary space, the correct signage. This will all be new signage that occurs there. But it still remains a top listed item for us. But this is largely just the aesthetic portion that we're doing.
Why are we not doing the ADA compliance before aesthetics? I don't understand priority wise. Sell me on it.
Okay. So
ADA compliance should be a priority over painting floors different colors.
Okay, so what items are you concerned that aren't ADA compliant with the garage right now?
I just want to know that the entire garage has been done. You were talking about having a survey and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know because I don't access it as much, but I have heard from two people that the machines weren't low enough or weren't accessible as well. So I'm just kind of wondering what your plan is, and I'd like to see more of a plan for that.
Okay.
First,
well, so we do have we have installed ADA ramps. So every access to a platform has an ADA ramp. Our machines are ADA compliant as they're procured to us from a vendor. They're the same ones out there. They have, in order for the vendor to sell, they have to meet all ADA compliance issues. Our elevators are kept in constant working order. I think there are definitely improvements that we want to continue to make. I think that there is issues with I think we don't there some of the spaces for the parking stalls there are new standards, right? So that's that's part of what we are putting together in a comprehensive plan to do a restriping and repaving there. But there is not anything with the garage that I'm aware of that is in violation of any ADA protocol. I think there are always opportunities to make things better, but I've not heard from the issue of machines being too high, because they're just the standard machines that we don't build them, we buy them. But if please,
go
if
back.
anybody says something, feel free to have them pass on to me. We want to make sure that we address those. I think part of this is going to be
I think it was passed on to you. I'll just have to go back and find it. I'm sorry.
okay, no problem.
Top of my head. Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Jim? Seeing none, all in favor? Darlene? All opposed? It's one. Abstentions? Okay, so 2-1-1. So it passes. Transportation, mobility, and parking. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with AKRF for an amount not to exceed $62,985 with a 10% contingency of $6,298 for planning and design of potential roadway improvements of Route 1, Cross Street, North Avenue, between Wilton Avenue and East Avenue. Account numbers noted. May I have, who would like to move this? Heather. Jim.
Sure. So in this one, we have approached the Connecticut Department of Transportation as this is U.S. State Route 1. The ConnDOT has made prior investments to the east and to the west of this subject area with widening of the roads. What we're looking, what has been some of the challenges for coming out of the local community, and as you may all probably have experienced it yourself, you go 2 lanes down to one. This section of Route 1 is constant congestion. Right. And it's constant congestion just because the roadway is not configured correctly, right? It has it has 2 lanes that feed it into each direction, 2 lanes that exit it. They did work up into the train station, up to the train tracks, but this really looks to get the train tracks to connect to where they did work ended the last project at East Avenue. What this part is we put the request in that we would be responsible for cost share, and this cost share is really looking at the design concept here. ConnDOT wants to say, what do you want your road to look like, right? And I think this is a much better approach than saying you fix our road in the city and we're not there. So this would be really getting an opportunity to look at this. I think it is well worth noting that we are seeing higher crash rates that exist on this section of the corridor that are side swipes and rear end collisions that are all really tied into what we see in congested areas, right? So as we adopted complete streets legislation, we're really taking an opportunity to look at these areas throughout the city that fall. And in this one, any of the cost for construction will fall upon to ConnDOT. We just wanted to make sure that we participated in a design that really looks to solve some of the problems that we are. And then more importantly, I love my friends at ConnDOT, right? This is not a dig at ConnDOT at all. But sometimes they tend to over design things, and we really want to make sure that in this dense portion of the city that the roadway is the right sized roadway, that it's meeting our complete streets legislation guidelines, that we're participating in the process, and it's just the early part to get a project on the books for ConnDOT to take on and execute.
Barbara.
Yeah, I just want to say I really support this because that chokehold in that area is terrible. It is terrible. I hear so many complaints, and it's so dangerous. It's close to a school, and it's it's an area that I don't travel like a lot, but we do take our dog down there for boarding sometimes. And so, I've experienced it. It's extremely dangerous. So I like that, the city will have a say, because I think, I know the state, did the work up closer to East Avenue, and, it's improved, but it's not great. There's still some problems up there. So I think it's really important that we have a voice in how this is done, and, improving the safety there, because it really is treacherous.
Yeah, I think going into camp, particularly when you're talking about the school, it presents a significant challenge, particularly around school times, right? It's just, it's a difficult intersection to get the turn to get on. I was caught in it around Wilson earlier today, and I think there are many people who remember it, and try to avoid it. So I think that's the issue of just like keeping them on the road that's there. I think it is the next logical portion, right? Because investments have been made on both sides. And, I think this was not on the radar for CONDOT, and it is our response to CONDOT that put it on there. And this really came from that conversation of like, what do you want? So I think what we really want to do is we want to look at what are the traffic numbers that are coming out of there? What do we see as the improvements that are going around there? And what things that can we do that can mitigate some of the concerns that we see, that particularly as we look around schools. We want to make sure that we look at an area outside that of just what CONDOT may look at as their road, right? But the approaches and Tracy School in particular that's up there. But I agree with you.
I agree with everything Barbara said on this one. Ditto. Heather, Darlene, Heather?
Yeah, I agree too that it needs to be addressed. So we're basically doing this study on behalf of the state. Is that what I understand? We're not doing a study for us. We're doing a study for them, for the work that they need to do.
So we're doing it to start off, to kick off what would be a project that they would end up taking on, right?
Okay.
But so we. Oh, sorry.
So there's no way to get them to pay for it, or is there?
So there typically is a cost share in these, and this would be removed from whatever potential future cost share that we have for participating in it, because we would look at wanting to make sure that we participate in the design protocols that is actually adopting by the city's complete streets legislation, and that is connecting. So typically most of these are somewhat of a share between the state and the municipality.
And so my next question about that is, so is this a company that the state, is it one of their preferred vendors, so that if we ask them after the fact, if they're using our study or whatever it is, if we ask them for that cost share, is it a vendor that they would normally use?
So as long as we went through a competitive bid process, which we did in order to establish this, that they would cover, whether they use them or whether they do more of the design portion in-house. This is the preliminary work. So what we're getting out of here is a lot of the survey work, right? So the things that you need to do in order to start a plan. So we need the topography of the road. We need the grading and levels. We need where are the property lines? We need where are all of the utilities in line there. But in addition to that, we're also looking at what are the volumes of traffic, and we have the ability to expand that traffic count so that we can see, are there people, which is my concern, that we have today that avoid the road, taking other roads, like what could we truly anticipate as being the traffic volumes up there, so that we don't overbuild a road, but we also don't underbuild a road to do there. So we kind of make it's smart judgment. But these are all of everything that we do would be transferable into any larger plan.
Okay, one more question. So I know that they're about to start the Route 715 interchange. So getting those traffic numbers and studies before that kind of kicks off, are we able to do that if we move ahead with this? We can get it done before.
Well before.
Traffic patterns start changing as a result of that work.
Right, because the Route 7, Route 15 is only at a 30, sorry, it's been a long day. A 30% design plan, so we'll be well in advance of any of the issues that are there. And then we also have the opportunity to looking, in-house of like, do we, are we having a project somewhere? Are we causing some movement of traffic that goes into a different pattern? So all of those will definitely be taken into consideration.
Right, thanks.
Darlene,
So, Josh, I'm asking this question kind of in reference to your fingers crossed, but so is this, doing all this work, we can't say anything is ever guaranteed, but it really kind of is the process that we need to go to ensure that we get the funding that we need, right?
Yeah,
And in the right way.
right. So you're right. I think that we've been down this path before, right? You're like nothing's guaranteed until the money's in the bank, right? But I think one of the things is this really what we need to do to spearhead it, and I think what we'll use a lot of this to create that narrative, that really pushes it forward. And I think the fact that we make investments like this make ConnDOT stand up and take notice, right? And that it's there. But yes. It is nothing's guaranteed, but it does give us the ability to say, like, you did the investments to the east, you did the investments to the west. This is a logical thing. We've done the work. We've shown you with a lot of what we're going to do is really show in data and statistical format that there is a demonstrated need for you to do these investments.
Okay. Thanks.
Barbara.
And just to add to that, though, they've done the work on both sides, but that work on both sides is partially what created, no, well, it didn't create it, made it worse, made that chokehold worse, right? So they have a responsibility. So they have a responsibility to come and do this work.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and like just to piggyback off what Jim said, and to Darlene, like, yes, of course, but like there is no guarantee, but this is a tried and true pattern that we've done now over a number of years where investments like this have happened, and it's made it easier for us to obtain much bigger grants. So if you're talking about like input output, the investment, we're getting so much back in return when we get these sort of investments from ConnDOT relative to the amount we put in for these kind of design projects. So it's like basically it's a form of seed investing that ends up redounding as a in benefit to our residents.
Yeah, and I think because a lot of it is it's the what we get to do now is really the data that supports it, and then once you put the data is irrefutable, right? Once it's there, and once we can see the numbers, and you can say, oh, it's a congested road, right? But when we have the numbers behind there, and when we have an opportunity to put that in front, then that really creates the pathway, right? I think the city would most definitely benefit from more of the studies and plans that allows us to move them forward, right? Because I think Garrett's going to be up next. Is going to talk about Wall Street. Wall Street, I think, is been a very unique story, right? We didn't have plans when we started that investment. We had, I don't know if to say that you had the passion from Garrett and I that went out there and talked to people about what the possibilities could be. And, we had to share with them the possibilities from, what we have in our heads and where really what we see, but we didn't have a plan to show them, right? It's the plans often get us, when we look at funding, we have we often have, we'll grant opportunities that may present themselves, and, people are looking, what shovel ready projects do you have to do, right? Because they don't want a project that's going to take 5 years to go through a design program and all the community meetings. They like to have something vetted. These opportunities to vet these things allow us to move them faster through the queues.
Okay. Any additional questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Okay. I'm going to move these next two together since they are linked. So I'm going to move items 2 and 3. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to increase the Fuss and O'Neill contract by $380,000 for additional transportation engineering and related design services for Wall Street corridor improvements, account numbers noted. And 3, authorize the Director of Transportation, Mobility, and Parking to execute the amendment to increase the contract with Fuss and O'Neill for an amount not to exceed $38,000. Do I have a motion? I'll move it. Actually, I'm not even sure I can move it. That's actually not right. Barbara, thank you. Garrett.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So good evening, council members. I wanted to start off tonight by just kind of providing an update on where the project stands. So we put together this, what I think is it's a really simple graphic, but it's really powerful, and it showcases all the activity that's happening at once. So if you actually draw a circle around this area, it's about 27 acres. So this is a really, really big project. And when we first started off on this project, it was always the East Wall Street was really going to be phase 1. But I think what we learned quickly is now that's become phase 1A. There's a phase 1B, there's a phase 1C, and there's a phase 1D. So as I'll go through each of them, but for Wall Street, East Wall Street, we're currently in construction. Next week, we'll wrap up the work for the new curb lines and the sidewalk on the southerly side of the street. And then our construction crews are going to swap over to the northerly side of the street. So over the next month or two, you really see how the puzzle starts to come together. And just like on the south side, we've had some really massive expanses of sidewalk space. And you'll see even more pedestrian space develop. And one of the highlights of the project is that plaza that's going to occur between High and Ninth Street. So we're moving along with that project. Simultaneously, there's been a tremendous amount of work done on 61 Wall Street Place. So we're calling Isaac Street, really, that's our phase 1B now. And as soon as the facade, the contractor really wraps up the facade of that building, they'll move forward and they'll proceed with a multi-million-dollar grant as part of that development agreement to improve Isaac Street. And when I think about Isaac Street today, I kind of think about a curbless street, but not in the good way, like we're doing a festival street on River Street, but just really it's in disarray. And these streetscape improvements that are going to come forth, they're going to establish curb lines, and behind that will continue the beautiful streetscape that's being implemented. You'll see that brick banding that's currently on East Wall Street carried over into the Isaac Street. So they'll start to build this cohesion among the different streets in the corridor. There'll be the ornamental and the historical lights installed. You'll have street trees. We'll fix the parking. It's always been kind of haphazard on that street at best, and there'll be beautiful delineated parallel on-street parking, and the road will just be so much better defined. And as part of that project too, we're also making sure that that street fits into the rest of the neighborhood by undergrounding the utilities and working with all the adjacent property owners to make that happen. So you'll see some of the underground utility work to make the roadway happen, but that will also start to take place over the next several months throughout the rest of the year. You heard from Jim earlier about the improvements to the Yankee Doodle garage, and there's a lot of activity happening in that area. I won't rehash the design features that Jim mentioned earlier, but we're also that's kind of become phase 1C. We've kind of adopted this phase 1D, and through a really great partnership with Matt Pence and the Transit District, they've been amazing, and together we've been able to really push forward and advance the conversion of that roadway, which was really planned as part of phase 2 of the overall project and to take place later in 2026. But we're able to do it now, and it's to the benefit of the new mini hub system that the Transit District's implementing, but also it's just much better activation of the garage. Access will be greatly improved, so it was really great to see River Street turn into a festival street over Derby Day. But when that happens, the main access point to the garage is blocked, and everyone had to loop around the neighborhood to get in on Burnell Boulevard. And now, as of this upcoming Monday, you'll be able to access that second entrance on Burnell Boulevard directly, reducing a lot of circulating traffic through the neighborhood and a lot of redundant traffic and getting people right into the garage. So it's really exciting. Over the last couple of weeks, our traffic signal crews have been out there. We laid out the new pavement markings today, and Sunday night we'll be out there swapping over all the signs and traffic control, so that Monday morning we have a successful implementation of the new routes for the Transit District. So all of that's happening right now, and what we're really trying to do with the item before you tonight is really tee up the next phase of the project. I actually had the opportunity to read the Wall Street Neighborhoods newsletter today, and I think what really stood out to me is there's just a genuine excitement in the neighborhood around these projects, and it can be tough during construction. It can be difficult, but there's just a general excitement for that infrastructure, that investment, these projects coming online, the new storefronts that are opening, the ability for someone to just go out and grab maybe just a bite to eat at any time of the day because of all these new shops opening. And a lot, if you read between the lines, it's really just about the activation of the neighborhood, which I think all of these projects add to and get people on the street. So the item that's actually before you tonight is really for the next phase of the project, phase 2, and it's really to take what is at a 60% design and just bring it to final plans for review, for approval, for bid. And the ultimate plan is working with our partners at the DOT and funded under the $5.5 million that Congressman Himes got for the construction of this project, is to get that phase 2 approved, bid next summer, and then into construction in the fall. So that way we keep the momentum going. I think that's, we're doing things now, which is great, but we want to just keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum moving forward. And what phase 2 entails is it's going to include all of Brunel Boulevard. So while it's great, we've converted it to two-way now, we're really going to formalize the roadway. The sidewalks are in need of a little TLC. We're going to add to some of the transit facilities on the southerly side of the road, which currently doesn't have any. Through our coordination with the transit district, we're going to look at extending the River Street Festival Street, so the intersection of River and Brunel is raised in the future, and it'll just help people connect with their bus routes, but also just make the neighborhood more walkable. And the Harbor Loop Trail is just to the north, right behind the confluence, so you'll be able to safely, conveniently transverse through the neighborhood, but also access the trail system, which runs through and bisects this area as well. And it includes improvements to Main Street, all the way from Hoyt down to the East Wall Street project that's in construction. So phase 2 is going to be pretty significant. It's a large area, and we're looking to advance the design to those 100% plans, so that way we can meet our federal funding obligations. Also, as part of the proposal before you, is I wanted to mention that the entire project now is at a 60% design level. So what that really means is moving forward, when for the next phase of funding, phase 3, when we look at Wall Street proper, we can just pick that phase out and then bring that to final design documents and bid that closer to the time of when the construction will actually begin. So it allows us a lot of flexibility. It also makes the entire project more enticing for maybe future grant funders, because the plans are moving forward. They're at a design level where they're ready to be finalized at a moment's notice, and then we can get out future subsequent phases. And as part of this proposal before you tonight, we're also looking at just permitting this entire project now. So we have all the regulatory approvals, the permits in place, so that future phases can move through together. And it affords us efficiencies to do all of this permitting together instead of just doing it on a phase by phase basis. And I think the permitting agencies will definitely appreciate us not coming back to them 4 or 5 different times for a very small subsection of the project. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the project itself.
If I can chime in before Gary starts, because I just wanted to add to that. I think you paint a real good picture. But I wanted to point out to something Darlene had said earlier. Like sometimes these plans allow us the opportunity to seek additional grant funding. When you see onto the right side of your screen the East Wall Street section, that's not shaded now. That we added that to the project. We recently wrote it. Well, we wrote a grant earlier in the spring. We were really pushing and trying to see if we can't get a commitment from the funder by today. They're really going to announce the commitment to fund in September. It's looking very promising for what we're there, but it's again the opportunity that we have to put then those plans, somebody gets to see true plans, is really giving us an upper hand in the Wall Street section. And again, in the in this portion, the federal government requires a cost share of this. This cost share is really what we look as our design work that's in there that we are able to use and do that. So and I think the other thing that we're doing here, and I think Garrett really alluded to this before, is I think we're being efficient with the process in which we're doing. We've gathered the 60% design that allows us to do permitting so that we don't have to do permitting for each individual sections. It's not only time consuming, but it's costly, right? So we're going to be able to save costs over time with the project. But more importantly, we didn't design the entirety of the project at 100% and then have it sit on a shelf, right? We got it to a point where we could then come and request the additional funds to get that next section done so that we could free up that next grant funding. So I think we are trying to be good stewards of tax dollars. I think we always do that, and I think this is the most efficient way to run the program. And I think what we're also trying to do is divide a little bit around so that people get to see different aspects of it done, but it's also we don't bring it would be easier for us to build this if we can close down all the roads, get rid of everybody, build it, and then open it up. But we have to find a way to minimize the pain of construction, and I think that that's why you're seeing where we put different pieces around the entirety of the project, and also like anticipation of what's coming, right? So, but to Garrett's point, hammer away at any questions.
Anyone?
I do. I just have I guess I'm just trying to acclimate myself. So ongoing phase 1B construction, that Isaac Street is where the new development project is, right?
Yeah, that's
And
correct. That's correct. Wall
around
Street
the
Place.
corner, and then where's this other side coming out to?
Are you speaking about
That
the
parking.
shaded area on the right side of the screen?
Yeah, on the yeah.
Yeah, so that's the block of Wall Street, East Wall Street, between Main Street, where it meets Wall Street, and then Brook Street and Smith Street. So if you think about Head of the Harbor, it's just past that Head of the Harbor development, just basically to where the hill starts going up to East Avenue on East Wall Street.
No. 1B? Is that where that's going?
1B, so 1B will be the entirety of Isaac Street.
Okay.
So all the way from the existing signal at Wall Street, all the way to its terminus, which is just to the west of the new Wall Street Place development.
Okay.
We tried to shade them in a different color. I think I think we probably should we kept them in the same family. Maybe we
might need to color code them. Yeah.
Different color, but it is the entirety of Isaac Street.
Okay.
Which includes a small section of undergrounding utilities, which is really, I think we have the last 2 or 3 poles that have been there, so it'll free up some of that space. But as Garrett talked to you before, the great thing about having a plan is that what we're doing here is really complementary. It's the same streetscape that we're seeing in the rest. So and when this is done, there'll be a very cohesive project.
What's the time frame?
Garrett?
So we're looking to wrap up. So phase 1A, Wall Street, East Wall Street, substantially complete that by this winter. And what we're looking to do is, so Wall Street Place, you'll start to see some of the streetscape later this summer, continue into the fall, and hopefully we'll be able to get it done by winter. If not, that will wrap up next spring. Then the phase 2 that is before you tonight, we're really looking at sufficing and completing all the plans, and getting those approvals for the plans from our partners at ConnDOT, and getting it approved by our federal partners next summer, 2026. So what we really like to do is put it out to bid in the summer and get the contractor on board late summer so that they can start before the fall and continue it. And that'll take us into 2027 for the construction of Brunel and Maine. It's a really large area, and there's quite a bit of work to do, and quite a bit of coordination with both DOT Bridges and our partners at the Pulse Plant as well.
Thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts, questions? If not, then if you wouldn't mind stopping the share screen.
Oh, yeah, my apologies here.
And I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Barbara has her hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make a few comments. So I do spend a fair amount of time on Wall Street, and the excitement among the businesses, despite, like the construction's going on, right? And it's really, nobody loves construction, right? But they love it. They're like, yes, we finally have something happening here. And it's really exciting. It's going to be this work is going to be so transformative for the businesses, for that business community. It's really exciting. I ran into Blanca from Kohl's at an event last week, and she and I haven't talked. I just ran into her and we were chatting, and she is so happy about those sidewalks. And I know
It's,
it was a rough go there for her.
It was a little rough go for a little bit.
It's tough. You're working in a really old section of the city. It's a challenge with a lot of the
Yeah.
utilities underground, and
Yeah.
we do our best. But I think in that particular instance, the sidewalk space was doubled. We did some before and after measurements, and the next day after we complete the sidewalk, we're in constant communication with the business owners. The tables are going out, the chairs are going out, and there's a general excitement for people to be outside.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So phasing it the way you did, over a period of time is, it really does. It shows the commitment that we have to the Wall Street area and to those businesses, and I think about, like some of the restaurants that can't open for lunch right now, they're going to be able to open for lunch. It's really, really exciting and really transformative. And, you've done just an yeoman's work for one, and I've said so many times how grateful I am that, for all of the grants that you've received, worked really hard to bring in those grants to help this make a more affordable project for the city. So, the excitement down there. I was just down there today with some folks from out of town, and even they were like, this is a really exciting place to be. And I'm like, oh, well, I like to hear that, because they had never been there before. So really great work. And
I do think our efforts on East Wall was really, I think it was listening to the community, right? We heard the frustration in their voices. I think we heard it because they were yelling at us, but it was decades of inactivity that was going on, and we really wanted to pull out a piece of it and be able to show people what the design is going to be, so I think it was, when we broke ground, there was a lot of excitement that came from them, and Kohl's was challenged, right? Their sidewalk, it was gone one day, and it doesn't look pretty when you're in there, but it looks pretty. We've said, like, it'll look better at the end. I can't make it better this, but I think it was we put an accelerator into the concrete so that they could open, and they opened at 4, and I think 4:35 there was a table that was put outside with chairs, and they were serving dinner for their first night outside. So and I think now it is. The people can see it. I think people needed to start to see what the investment could look like, and I think that's what we try to do.
And then, and Jay, I have a question for you. And it's because my memory is not like really, I don't remember exactly what the AMI is for Wall Street Place, and you might have it off the top of your head, but if I recall, it's all affordable housing, and what this is a part that I don't remember, if it's 60%, 40%, and then like 30%, 30% AMI. Does anyone have those numbers off the top of their head?
Yeah, I don't have the AMI breakdown for that unit. If it's not 100%, it might be 80% of all deed restricted affordable units. But I can get that information for you, unless someone else might know.
Minutes of meetings, I just don't recall it off the top of my head.
Yeah, it is 100%, and it is a sliding scale for AMI, and I do believe it goes from 60 to 30. Yes.
Oh, thank you, 60 to 30. That's what I thought. Yeah, which is incredible. Like that is what we need. We're talking about affordable and workforce housing. That is the kind of that's what we need. We did
100%.
It's a long time for us to get there, right? Took a
Mhm.
long time, but it's all happening and it's really good.
Okay, and on that note, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we're moving right along. Planning and zoning. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and AECOM Technical Services, Inc. for professional consulting services for the development of a citywide community flood resilience plan for a sum not to exceed $192,500. Do I have a motion? Heather, thank you very much. And Alexis, you're on.
Great. Good evening. So back in June of 2023, the Common Council authorized a, excuse me, a grant agreement, execution of a grant agreement from the National Coastal Resilience Fund, which is administered through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And so it's that grant that is funding the current request on the agenda. So it is for the retention of a consultant to complete the coastal resilience plan. It is 100% grant funded, covered 100% by grant funding. Again, the flood resilience plan is a citywide plan that will look at identifying existing flood vulnerabilities and coming up with some concept projects and policies to reduce the city's vulnerability to flooding by increasing resilience. It's about a one-year project. The plan is kind of foundational in project pipeline, kind of teeing up for future funding. Because of the scope of the grant laid out a series of kind of major tasks or objectives, and the scope of the consultant bid on pretty much mimics what is drafted in that that grant agreement. Yes, that's kind of it. It went out to bid. There were five bidders. The best qualified was AECOM. AECOM, some of you may recall, was the lead for the Resilient South Norwalk project. That was not a city project, but that was funded by the University of Connecticut's CIRCA, which is an acronym that I cannot remember. AECOM did a very nice job with that project. That this current project would basically expand elements of what they did in South Norwalk to the entire city.
Darlene.
Hi, Alexis. So you said that this dated back to when?
So it was awarded technically in 2022.
Okay.
We finally got a grant agreement from NIFWIF in June of 2023.
Okay. I mean, it's not a lot of time. Have conditions changed or have things changed since then? And I'm sure it has. And have we included that, or is that what this company is going to do to
Yeah, I mean,
identify
certainly
those changes?
Yeah, conditions have changed as far as federal administrative kind of policy decisions. The grant funding has not changed. It's my understanding that the foundation has retained its funding, so it still has the funding, and so we're getting the city is getting reimbursed from NIF with the foundation. So that kind of transfer of federal funds to the foundation has already happened. And then certainly, right, within the plan, the part of what the plan is going to articulate are identifying opportunities for additional grant fundings to move these identified priorities forward. And yeah, I think that continues to be a changing environment. So I think that the consultant will need to identify, there's always a lot of kind of and cross benefits for many of these projects. The NIFWIF funding generally wants to focus on nature-based solutions. But when you do those, yeah, so basically we're going to have to be very open-eyed to the likely funding sources or lack of federal funding sources moving forward, but have the plan written in a way that's adaptable enough for what I suspect are going to be future funding sources. I mean, flood resiliency is not an issue that is going away, and there will be kind of pressure on communities to come up with solutions. So it's yeah. If that answered your question, Darlene.
Darlene.
You're muted,
on mute.
sorry.
Will the scope change and will it include Manresa? Is that part of the scope?
So the scope technically is, so this, I would say this is a broad brush plan that looks at general areas of flooding vulnerability, and then comes up with some kind of these classes of actions that the city might focus on in the future. It is a citywide plan, so technically, yes, it would look at everything within the city. Is it going to? It is not going to be a plan that kind of really narrows down to specifics for any location within the city, really.
Jay?
Oh, and I was just going to add, but Alexis, I think pointed it out, is that even though this was applied for probably, years back, this is a prioritization plan that is going to help the city identify any issues that the city should be targeting to address, and also help find that funding. So hope, anything that wasn't included in that original scope, my guess, and that's typically how these contracts will work, and would be included. There are always going to be things that aren't identified in the original scope that might or may not become a high priority. Is that correct, Alexis?
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't, the scope doesn't exclude anything. It really tasks the consultant with figuring out what we should prioritize. Right.
Barbara.
Yeah, so, just to, so it's looking at everything. So that tells me we're looking at stormwater, we're looking at tidal flooding, we're looking at, some of those wetlands areas. So I guess what I'm curious about is if, you're concurring with the Public Works Department, because there's been a lot of flood remediation going on throughout the city, like the Friendly Pond area, for example, like we had known for decades, really, that was a problem. So you're just, I just want to hear how you're coordinating with Public Works on that.
Yes, there is a steering committee that's a mix of staff and hopefully members of the public that they still need to work on getting that. But yes, Public Works is absolutely tied into this. I will say that so flooding happens for a variety of reasons. As you mentioned, there's kind of sunny day, kind of tidally influenced flooding. There's these very intense rain events that happen for our riverine systems. There's a storm surge during, hurricane, and then there's also flooding due to infrastructure capacity, and that is a little bit more of a drilling down into an engineering and design issue. And so while some of the priorities that this plan may identify may be kind of related to kind of stormwater management. That's kind of a whole different chunk of the flooding issue.
Understood. I mean, we got them all here, right?
Yes.
Every kind of flooding there is, we've got it. So,
Unfortunately, right, there's, you
Yeah.
can spend a lot of time trying to prioritize your flooding issues. Absolutely.
okay, thanks.
Darlene?
And so I guess just thinking about this too, I mean, we know how Water Street becomes Water Street, right? And so they will be prioritizing, because that's what you're saying, like what we need, where the most issues are, what we need to tackle in that
Yes.
way, right?
Yes.
Okay.
With the caveat that, so they did do, when they were hired by Yukon Serpa to do their Resilient South Norwalk exercise, that was focused on parts of Water Street and parts of Woodward Avenue. And one of the things that I specifically require in the scope is that they don't duplicate that work. So we don't want to, we've done that. So this is an additive plan. But yes, there are still more areas within adjacent to Water Street that beyond what the Resilient South Norwalk touched. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's nothing excluded at this point. We want them to help us identify what our priorities should be.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, everyone. Oh, Darlene, I'm sorry, was there something? Oh, I thought you were, I just saw your hand. Well, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. All right, the last three items are under the ECD banner. Item 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the City of Norwalk and the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation regarding the occupation of rail infrastructure for the maintenance of the Sono sign under the railroad trestle on Washington Street. Do I have a motion? Darlene, hoped it would be you. Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. So this is an annual renewal of the maintenance agreement between DOT and the redevelopment agency typically has been the one who has signed off on this agreement, although it's been my understanding in conversations with the Corporation Council and Mayor's Office, as well as redevelopment agency, that the city has always been the one maintaining the Sono sign underneath the railroad trestle at the foot of Washington Street. And so when it came up this year, the redevelopment agency asked our office if we would be the ones willing to sign off on the agreement this year and going forward, since we were the ones maintaining this sign anyways. And so that's what we're bringing before you today. So there's no trigger, no fee. It's essentially, if there, something happens to the sign, that we will be there essentially to address any issues if the letters fall down, which we have been doing anyways. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about that.
Questions? Heather.
So Jay, this is under your umbrella at this point, the letters.
Correct.
Okay, because at one point I did a mural under there, and the Arts Commission removed the murals under the bridge and put the letters up and said it was art, so it was under the Arts Commission, so it's not in their purview anymore.
Well, I think they approved it, but they're asking us to help usher through the actual the maintenance agreement with the city. So anything that goes underneath there would follow whatever typical protocols in place for an installation like that.
I get.
So I think you're right.
What I'm asking is, so if it needs maintenance, the line item budget will be under you and not specifically Arts Commission anymore, right?
No, it'll come from where it always has come from.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Unless there are any other questions, all in favor? Unanimous. Numero 2. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and AGW Sono Partners, LLC, regarding the temporary occupation of 99 Washington Street to utilize the vacant office space. Do I have a motion? Barbara, Jay,
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. So, this is really an outside of the box kind of idea that our office has been working on. There's a vacant office space at 99 Washington that has been vacant for, I think, the past 3 or 4 years. While taking a tour with some of the property owners down there, they mentioned that they've really been trying to get this space leased out, and that it was incredible space, and but they've been having trouble. And so, in our walking tour, I said, hey, I would love to have a look at this space at some point, just to see what it is you're trying to fill and what type of tenant that you're looking for. And so a week or two later, we were granted access to the space, and it is an absolutely incredible office space that was outfitted, I believe, a $3 million outfit from the last tenant that moved out of the location a few years ago, and it's just never been filled. And it is an absolutely gorgeous space that should not be vacant. And so our business development team is typically working out of 3 Belden. We proposed the idea to the property owner that we would love to try to do everything we can, try to help fill this space and get as many folks driving as much foot traffic as we can to this location, so people can really see how incredible this office space is. And I propose that we put one of our business development associates, who typically is working in the community at 3 Belden, and that we might temporarily place him at this 99 Washington at no cost to the city, and help have some meetings there, drive some foot traffic, maybe get a bit more exposure to the location, with the hopes that we are there. I think in a perfect world, it's not vacant at all, but in a good world, I think that one of our staff members is there for a few days and that this place leases, and that staff member is either back to Belden or back in our office, where they typically will split time. So the property owner really jumped at the idea of this, of the idea, and is really thrilled that the city is trying to be a strong partner to them and the business community. So that's the premise of what we're trying to do, and this is temporary. It's at no cost to the city, and we're really excited at the opportunity after Corporation Council had a look at the agreement and felt that it would not put the city in a bad position doing so. So happy to answer any questions.
Barbara.
This is a very interesting and creative idea. So kudos for that. I'm curious, is this on ground level or is it, on the second floor
Second
space?
floor.
Second floor. Okay.
Second floor. And so and I think one of the other things that I forgot to mention is that, a lot of times when a prospective tenant is looking in the area, the landlord will be walking them around and kind of showing them some of the other great businesses that we have in the area. And they'll be able to drop by and say, hi, we want to introduce you to Alex Frost, our business development manager here, showing that the city has a footprint in the community. And, we are actively trying to help these businesses along the way. And so I think that's the other part that we really thought was a good visual representation for the city.
It's Alex you're putting down there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome. He's so great, and he will really, this is a really, doesn't cost the city anything. It, could eventually, help move that foot traffic, get interest. I think that, I think we all know, Washington Street's really been, it's barely been holding its own. We've got those, core restaurants that, they're always there, but, I think, we need more people walking there throughout the daytime, and so it's just really curious, or a really interesting idea. So it's not costing anybody, it's not costing us money. I'm all for it.
Heather,
So there's a lot in the documents about insurance, though. It's not, it's all covered under our city riders, or do we have to take out additional insurance? And they're gonna pay
No
for the
additional
electrical and
insurance.
everything too?
I'm sorry, Heather, I couldn't hear that.
Okay. And so the property owner's gonna be paying for the lights and stuff like that, electricity.
No, so the city we will be paying for the utilities that we use. So, the light there is really fantastic. It might be one light on in the office space, and then the running of a laptop that we have there. So very minimal.
And so the insurance, there's no additional insurance riders or anything we have to take out.
No, it's my understanding. It took a long time to work through it with Corporation Counsel, but that our insurance will in fact cover how we intend to use the location.
Okay.
Darlene,
It was a lot of work for something that's temporary, but I think that the property owners appreciated the work.
So to that, so when you say temporary, how long do you think you're going to be there?
Well, I think in a perfect world, it's leased within the first 24 hours. I'm not sure it's going to go that way. I think that, I think we would reevaluate after the first few months.
That's okay.
Make sure that, there isn't some cost that we haven't thought about. And I think ideally, maybe a month or two, maybe at the end of the year, we'll just see how things work. It's such a fantastic space to meet with folks.
And how many days a week? It's gonna be 5 days a week? 5 days a week?
About 4 days a week. I think typically we try to have Alex in the community as much as we can, but he brings great energy, so we want to see him in the office at least one day when we can.
And I ask that because I can also see not only the benefit of drawing and attracting new business, but I think it can also become a place where if some business owners are having a concern, that he may be that contact. Unintentionally, but I think that I can definitely see that as something, as a resource, as a contact to City Hall. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think I see a lot of those similar benefits. There are probably going to be some that we're not even thinking about. And if this is something that works and we're able to, help a business owner lease up a space that they've had challenge doing so, maybe we replicate this in another location once we help out this property get filled. So just trying to be as creative as possible to help folks.
And Jay, I will say that having that connection very close, as opposed to folks having to come to City Hall or going back and making appointments, is going to, I think, make a really a big difference in feeling like there is that connection to City Hall, right? Because I've had new businesses that come into South Norwalk and call me if they can't get to code enforcement or building enforcement, so I think having that connection and a place for them to meet, maybe that doesn't require them to always come to City Hall. So I see it.
I agree.
So great idea.
all in favor? All right. And last but not least, that passed unanimously. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the City of Norwalk and the Maritime Aquarium in Norwalk, LLC, to install a live feed video display in the City Hall lobby. I can't believe we even have to vote on this. Heather, motion? Heather.
No, I think it's great. I love
That's what I'm saying. This
I'm
is a
aware
no-brainer.
and seeing it, and I think that it's a front of mind reminder that it exists. Sometimes you forget about it,
Right.
but it's there if you live in the city. So I think it's really good, and it'll be good to drive more people there. So.
All right, Barbara.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. Yeah, I saw Jason last week. Jason Patlas from the aquarium. He was telling me about it. I mean, it's incredible. And they're providing the equipment. I love it.
Does it get our seal of approval?
Are we
all in
voting?
favor? Come on, it was hanging
Yeah,
out there.
Carpet- Oh, you and your jokes, Josh.
Yeah. All
That
right,
was cute. Was that a pun? That was cute.
Was it really?
seal. Come on.
See you.
All right.
Sorry, it was cute.
All right. This has been a good meeting.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, Darlene.
Good
All
night.
right. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Thanks,
Jay.
Jay.
Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Jay.
Thanks,
you,
Sabrina.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Bye,
you, everyone.
Monique. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Sabrina.
Bye, Monique.
Bye,
Have a good
Monique.
night.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.